Hello, namaste, and welcome to my channel. I'm your host Nagesh Deshpande. Today, I'm going to discuss a very interesting and new episode: deadly mistakes mid-career professional make in interview. So, everyone, when they reach mid-career journey, they're looking for new challenging roles. They're looking for growth, all that. When they go for an interview, they often make few mistakes. What are those mistakes? Why do they make these mistakes? To discuss on this, we have a new speaker, Ritvika Banerjee. She is a MD and CISO of Fly High Group in Kolkata, which is a new age career and consulting firm. Hi Ritvika, welcome.
Hello, Deshpande ji. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for asking. It's really been a great day here today. I hope it's
Right.
all the same at your end too.
Yeah. Pune is great. Pune is good. Pune is good. So, how was day? What do you do on the weekends normally?
Weekend is family time for me. I love this time I spend with family because round the week, I mean, it's hardly we get time to spend with your family members, your parents and children. But yeah, lovely to
Good.
be the weekends. I long for the weekends, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, much deserved. We spend a lot of time outside at our home. We give energy to work and all that, and there's a lot of things that we need to take care outside the family life. Then we must spend good enough time with the family. First of all, thank you for accepting my invite and being a speaker on Agile Exploration Hub. And today that we have picked up a topic where the mid-career professional, which those who are making mistakes during the interview, let's discuss that today, Ritvika. So shall we go ahead?
Sure.
So, Ritvika ji, I saw your profile. It's very, comprehensive. You have a very vast experience, and to understand this, like you have spent more than 17 years in the industry. We would like to first understand, professionals still fail in the interview repeatedly. Why there's such things happening right now?
Uh, See, one of the things which we should be understanding about a mid-career professional is that they, by this time, so by mid-career, we typically mean 8 to 10 years of work experience, like within 10 years, right?
Yes,
At
yeah,
times, 5 to 10 years also we can consider.
right.
At the time, you have to understand corporates are looking for people with some domain expertise, right? So
Mm,
that domain has to be identified. What is their domain where you can perform better than your peers? Understanding your skills, technical skills if you are getting into a technical role, or domain specific skills if you're some specialization needs to be developed that might not be aligned to your alma mater, that may not be aligned to your degrees, the academic,
mm,
but your professional certifications, your professional roles, your professional deliverables, whatever you have worked on, that makes a lot of difference because today we live in a time sensitive world. Every day some new technology is coming in, the way of delivering things, delivering projects are changing, so it is important for us to be there upon the web so that we know what domain belongs to us and where do we see ourselves maybe in the next few years.
So, in short, you see that people are missing specialization, some key skills that give the credibility that they are expert in their area. If I say that,
Yes, absolutely. At times, not that they are missing, they might be confused. They're not able to express themselves in the appropriate way during the interviews. At times, for example, I've seen for people like around 5 to 6 years experience, they're so focused on their outfits, they're so focused on their way of talking, they forget their basics.
hmm,
They have prepared how to introduce themselves, but then the moment you ask a question which is not scripted or not prepared, right from their introduction itself, they will falter or they'll fumble. So that is something actually is very important in an interview. How
okay,
do you present yourself?
yeah, right. So, you have interviewed like thousands of people so far in your career. Can you give me some of the answers that often the interviewee gives, and they lost the credibility during the interview?
The first thing which I would like to call here is they forget how to defend their CV. We live in an
Mm,
AI world. Everybody is using ChatGPT or in some of the other tool which is very similar to ChatGPT. What has happened now? We create very flashy CVs, but
mm,
it's not the person who is coming for the interview. There's a huge gap. I belong to the AI world, and my one of my professional expertise comes in the domain of like application of AI in cybersecurity and data privacy domain. So AI is something which I breathe in, breathe out, right?
agree.
Right from seeing the CV, we can understand whether it is human original content or it's an artificially generated content. I'm not against using it, but the moment you bring up to yourself at ChatGPT English level and then you speak something during your introduction, which is outside script, I mean, that creates actually a drift. Initial shock comes from there. Okay, so what I'm seeing and who am I meeting are not the same person. That's one. So use ChatGPT or any AI tool for enhancing your language in the CV, which you can defend in an interview. That is the most important because the obvious question generally starts with, please introduce yourself.
Right.
So the tone is set right there. That's one part. Second part is now I understand that okay, the person who has written and who is representing it, it perfectly goes aligned. Next comes is your how do you defend the points which you have mentioned in your CV? Please be very careful. I always keep saying this to everyone. What you mention here on the CV should exactly be what you are able to defend. If you say I have this is the certifications, then your answers should also carry the depth of that certification. Then it
Agree.
can't.
Mm.
Right, so these are the two things I like to say. Like, I mean, those should be there as part of your initial, I'll say, impression maker.
Absolutely agree. So I also always say that, like just you said, whatever you have mentioned in your CV, you should be able to explain. Okay. And whatever you should mention in your CV, both the things. So if you're writing something on your CV, you should be able to explain it. If you're
Yes.
not explaining it, you are losing the game there and there itself. Uh, Again, let's say now we are talking about mid-career professional, like people around 10, 12 years experience, 8 to 12 year experience. But still, I saw many people sound very junior in their interview while giving the answers, while giving even the responding, not just the answer, while responding to the interview. What might be the reasons for that?
Uh, you know what? As an interviewer, when you scan your interviewee who is sitting in front of you, maybe a virtual console or face to face,
Hmm,
you have to think as an interviewer what is going on inside your interviewer's mind.
hmm,
When I'm trying to scan a person, what he is or she is going to tell next, as an interviewer, you should be able to interrupt him, also not to interrupt him. When to interrupt and when not to interrupt makes all the difference.
agree.
If the person is able to handle that interruption perfectly, half the way is done. So he will be able to handle panic. He will be able to handle instability during a project, during a role. So these are like some simulative environments which you can discuss with your as part of your discussion or as part of your interview itself. Now, thinking about an interviewee from the interviewer's point of view, it is very important to keep reading the mind of the interviewer. What
Hmm,
he or she is going to tell you, where this interview is going towards. What is the purpose for this role? JD is very important. You should know what JD you are for which JD you have come for the discussion, right? Because that is where the interviewer is trying to judge you every time. So try to align your answers, try to align your profile as much possible to the JD so that you make yourself relevant to be considered for that role.
absolutely agree. Yes. So one quick tip to my viewers: read the JD thoroughly, understand, try to gauge or try to understand what role it might be, and plan your or think your answers like that. What might be the questions? What, like Ritika ji just said, you know, go into the mind of the interviewer. What might be the next question? Don't overthink, but have that mindset of gauging the mindset of the interviewer also. Now, the next point. What might be the points where interviewer lose interest very quickly in during this discussion? What might be the points?
Unfortunately, lack of fluency in English,
Hmm.
as most of the corporate jobs would want you to handle, in fact, international English accents.
Hmm.
That's the bare minimum expectations. Second is how do you carry yourself? That is definitely important. It's not that you have to come in all perfect outfit, but the persona which you carry in while you walk inside a room or you join a virtual console, that creates a very first impression. I have seen people who have come in a very clumsy way, but they have walked out with very confidence,
Right.
right? Because they have 100% grip on the topic they are going to talk about as part of the discussion. That is one.
Agree.
These are very rare cases. But still, they score less in their presentability. Because when we are judging a candidate in terms of whether we'll be considering that person for the next round of discussion or not, it is not one pointer scale. There are multiple topics, there are multiple uh, criteria based on which a person is judged. Why score less in presentability? That will definitely be there in one of the 5 or 6 pointers we have. Third is, I'll say, your depth or the technical expertise. There are people who are very good with their technical information, the technical knowledge they have, but they're not able to express it. That
Right.
might be because of lack of confidence or overconfidence, both. If someone is lacking in confidence, they somehow feel that, okay, when they ask, I'll tell. When let the interviewer ask me, I'll just answer in 1 or 2 sentences and then stop it there because I don't want to, I feel so nervous like that. But then
Right.
again, there are overconfident people who keep talking and don't let the interviewer speak, or they don't have the listening skill to understand what the interviewer is actually interested in. So the right balance between your listening skill and speaking skill is, I think, the best candidate should be having.
Right. Yeah. So I often meet a lot of candidates when I also interview a lot of people, and I often meet people who, you know, who just keep the beat the bush, keep the answering lot of vague things and unwanted information. Don't do that. Don't make a lot of long stories. Create it short, crisp, to the point, very specific things whenever you answer. And like Ritika ji said, you know, don't curtail too short or don't keep it too long. Allow interviewer to interrupt yourself. If the person interviewer is interrupting you, listen carefully and add to that what the person is asking. Another important factor, Ritika ji, is body language. How it will impact, how it will improve the result of the interview.
Uh, this is very important. Body language is one of the criteria we consider under presentability.
Agree.
So
Yeah.
today, most of the interviews are conducted virtually,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So it has the body language has actually come down to from head till half bust. So
Yes.
whatever you do within this span of your body tells your story. So I always keep seeing one thing, like if we are conducting a face-to-face interview, one obvious question and time which we can save is, am I audible? Right? So this
Right.
am I audible takes 30 seconds to 40 seconds of your critical interview time. If you are not confident on your technical console and you are confirming with your interviewer, am I audible? That shows you lack confidence
Hmm.
or not having confidence on your technical system. It is assumed that you are joining the interview at least 5-10 minutes before the stipulated time. You would have done those checks then, whether it's audible or not, whether you are visible or not. Why waste your valuable time in just asking the interviewer, am I audible, as your first question? So that shows a lot of body, and that scores negative in a body language criteria. Number one, if you're doing it face to face, how you walk inside the room. Do you knock and walk in? And if you're walking in, how confidently you are coming and taking your seat. Earlier, we used to say you should be asked to sit before you take a seat. Now the trend has reversed. Now we expect people not to ask additional questions. You know, if you're coming inside, you would knock, come inside, and get seated. and be ready to with your introduction or the first question. So this is a change in trend which is happening. And do not wish good morning, good afternoon, good evening unless you think that you are absolutely confident on the time. There are people who prepare for mornings, and then by the time their turn comes, it has become afternoon and they start
Afternoon.
with good morning. So that actually creates a negative impression. So it's
I
better
agree.
not to wish if you are not confident.
Yeah, yeah. I still remember my fresher days. When I was a fresher, I went for an interview, and then the it was a telephonic interview. So first round so it was like a um, call center. So first interview was face to face. I cleared that. Second round, they sent me in a cubicle where there was a telephone. I has to pick up and answer. So the person in front of me, the other side, called, and I picked up, and he purposefully said it, good morning. And I was about to say, then I paused and I checked my clock. It was more than, around 1 o'clock, and I said, it's afternoon, good afternoon, sir. So that's where the things immediately turn around. The person in front of me was like, he immediately realized that he's aware of what happening around it. So that day I took a pause. That pause helped me. So whenever you are in the interview, take a pause. No harm taking a pause. Even if interviewer pressurizing you, so let them know that I took a pause. I'm thinking. I'm going to talk about it more, but allow me to some time. So let's do that. Having a good body gesture while having that pause will increase your chances in this interview. So that's my views to what Ritika ji said. Now, going ahead, lot of people, they they write essays, they create stories, epics in the while giving the answer. How it will impact? What are the how it can backfire also?
Uh, I can't say it will always backfire because it also depends on the purpose of the role.
Right.
There are certain roles where some questions will be asked on the operating principle of a
Mhm.
process, maybe business process.
Agree. Mhm.
Process cannot be defined in one sentence.
Mhm.
The operating principle. If you have to, I mean, since we are talking about mid career professionals, so we are expected that they know in and out of a business process, the one for which the technical skill for which they have come for this interview, to ensure that what they have written in the CV, maybe 3 or 4 certifications they have acquired by now, they had to exhibit the technical experience or expertise coming from that certification as well as hands-on experience from the role which they have, I mean, whatever they have delivered. So now combining these two, they have to really wind a story. But
Mhm.
this has to be very structured, it has to be very crisp, and it has to be to the point. One,
Agree.
two, 3 points. Like bullets, which we make like a presentation. You must, that
Right.
mind map has to be very clear, right? If you are telling a story, it has to follow a structure. It can't go haywire. You can't beat around the bush. If you have told something in 3 words, don't use 5 words for that. Interviewer will need not require any repetition. They understand, they're by default senior and they know in and out of the process more than you. Assume that. So don't try to make or explain something to the interviewer like a student,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
your pro approach in defining a formal, we typically call it business storytelling. So this business storytelling approach really helps, but do not beat around the bush and don't give, I mean, answers which are irrelevant. Second,
Agree.
another thing which I keep saying to my interviews at the feedback or the closure period is, it's okay if you don't know any answer. We don't expect that 100% of my questions will be answered by the interview, because depending on the level of answers I keep getting, I keep increasing the level of question, the difficulty level of the questions. So I want to check where he or she stops, to understand that, so that in a comparative scale I can judge the other participants as well. So definitely there will be a point where he or she will not be able to answer. Admit it. Don't keep arguing and try to prove to the interviewer that whatever question he or she is asking, you have an answer.
Right. Absolutely right. Don't answer everything. Like if you don't know, I often say to my candidates, if you don't know, say I don't know. I give that psychological safe space to during that interview. Yeah, that gives me opportunity to skip that question and ask something which is, to drive, push this discussion ahead, instead of, because I know if person is giving wrong answers or incorrect information, I immediately came to know because I have that experience. So let's stick to very, structured way, like Ritika ji said just now. Put it in a one, two, three bullet points and answer. Now, let's say there are two type of people now, after the interview. One who is successful, one who is not so successful, or they fail. Now, what are the difference mindset the successful people will have and the failed people will have? How can they become successful? What kind of the mindset they should have?
Positive mindset, one word answer. You should not be thinking that whether I will be selected or not. You will
Right.
go again, get inside the interview, whether it's a virtual or face to face, whatever be the console, with a positive mindset. I am meant for this role. There is no reason interviewer is going to reject me. I'm the best among my peers.
Agree.
This mindset makes a lot of difference. Because at times when we as an interviewer judge a person, it's not always the correctness of the answer we see. We also look into their personal confidence level.
Mm.
We also look into their overall confidence or personal optimism in a person. Because if we are delivering some work, it is, I mean, mistakes and failures are bound to happen. We all are human beings. We can't be 100% correct all the times. So unsuccessful moments will be there. How are you handling failures? So that if you're already a sit backward, I mean, you have already accepted a defeat. How are you going to fight it back? So that attitude also we check. And that's why not all interviews are very, I'll say, thin and thin. There will be some stress interviews as well, where the main purpose is depends on if we are interviewing someone for a tough client, we will be choosing a person may not with the right answers, but with the right attitude. So
Agree.
your attitude makes a lot of difference.
Absolutely well said. So, now here we will conclude our discussion today's discussion, and there are a lot of takeaways. So do not, mm, make these mistakes. What Ritika ji suggested, have a good CV. To be specific CV. Do not add unnecessary information. Uh, you should always able to defend. You should be able to explain what is exactly written into your CV. Read the JD. A lot of candidate doesn't read the JD. They just show up to the interview. Avoid giving long winded answers. Be specific, have a structure in your answers and all that. So if you avoid these mistakes, you should be able to win this discussion. You should be able to successful. So Ritika ji, from the entire audience of Agile Exploration Hub, I would like to say thank you for being such a wonderful speaker today.
Thank you, Deshpande ji, and I'm really thankful to Agile Exploration Hub for having these kind of discussions. It's very required in this today's, I'll say, competitive world. You are doing a fabulous job. Thank you so much for having me here today. Namaste.
Thank you. So if you really enjoyed this discussion, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and keep supporting. Thank you. Bye bye.